Welcome back to CBS News Election Night headquarters in New York. It is now 1 a.m. in the East, 10 p.m. in the West, and polls are now closed across all 50 states. Former President Donald Trump and Republicans are having a very good night. CBS News projects that Trump will win two key battleground states, Georgia and North Carolina. And in the race for control of Congress, CBS News rates the Senate as lean Republican. In the race for the White House, the electoral vote count now stands at 246 for Donald Trump and 194 for Kamala Harris. And all eyes are on the 7 battleground states where this election will likely be won or lost tonight or in the days ahead. As we mentioned, CBS News projects Donald Trump wins North Carolina, a major victory for the former president, the same battleground state he won in 2020. Trump is also projected to pick up a win in Georgia. In the blue wall states, CBS News rates Wisconsin as lean Republican, and that leaves Arizona, Nevada, Michigan, and Pennsylvania. And CBS News rates all 4 of those battleground states as toss-up at this hour. And just in, CBS News projects Kamala Harris will win the state of New Mexico. That is an expected win for the Democrats, although Donald Trump did pay a last-minute visit to that state, hoping to eke out a victory. I'm joined now by Major Garrett and Anthony Salvanto, who have new information from the CBS News data desks. And as we mentioned, Donald Trump, the Republicans, having a very good night.
Yes.
The pathway for Kamala Harris has narrowed. Her own campaign manager says it's the blue wall. So wanted to go back and see what's happening in Pennsylvania.
The simple truth, Nora, is the path for Vice President Harris is narrowing by the hour. And we can illustrate that very clearly in Pennsylvania with its 19 electoral votes. And we can do it basically with just the color coding of this map. This is the map as it exists in this election. Let me show everyone what the map looked like. So bring the camera in here, if you will. Let's focus right on this part of eastern Pennsylvania. Here it is now in 2024. There it is in 2020. Do you see that difference? All this blue running up the eastern side of the Lehigh Valley up towards Scranton. Again, its coloration is either lighter blue or light red. And that is right now why the former president is running ahead of what he ran with in 2020 and is on pace to possibly capture Pennsylvania.
So she is underperforming Joe Biden and how he performed in 2020. Where? In what places?
Well, that's the important question, because this is a lot of white working class voters, many of whom now have shifted to the former president in this election. The other thing, though, is in Philadelphia. I want to look in here because we've also seen a shift in the city. And if you look internally at the local level, there are Hispanic precincts, Latino precincts that have shifted a little bit towards the former president from 2020. You see a little bit lower turnout so far. So all of that is part of the formula here for why Donald Trump is doing relatively better here than he did in 2020. It's across a number of key demographic groups, and the geography tells part of that story.
And the collar counties, which have traditionally been Democratic counties, although Bucks County now has more Republican voters in Bucks, you see.
But look at the difference. Look at the difference.
Yep.
Yeah.
Get that, right? We'll go to Northampton.
Running behind in Northampton.
Running behind
in Bucks.
Little behind. And that really is a story here again, Lehigh, right? People are going to look at that and they say, well, it's 1 or 2 points. But it adds up, right? You see the number of votes there. The lead for Harris so much smaller than what Joe Biden would have gotten out of there. And so one after another, those little shifts are adding up to keep Trump more competitive.
Now, you have not characterized this race yet. Can you show us why?
Well,
why you haven't called it lean Republican, for instance?
Yeah,
Tell us why. Because we still got 7% of the vote coming in, and it's coming in from cities.
Well, there still is outstanding vote. So let me show you where that is. And here is big circles, Montgomery, still some from Philadelphia. I told you about it, but still waiting for some there. Still some from Chester. These are places Democrats have done well in the past. So that's important and why we can't yet make a projection. But the other part is here, these dots may not be as small, but they represent Republican outstanding vote. So they could just as well go more for the former president, and then he would be able to hang on to what is now a narrow lead.
We can still look at this data, but I just want to bring in senior White House correspondent Weijia Jiang because she is in Philadelphia as we're looking at these numbers. I know, Weijia, you can hear our conversation. How does this square with the case that the Harris campaign was making? I mean, they claimed that they had the ground game, that it was far more superior, that they had knocked on millions of doors in these final days in these battleground states. Tell us what you were hearing from the campaign.
Well, Nora, that's exactly it. And that's why they felt so confident going into Pennsylvania, because as Anthony was mentioning, several sources told me, look, it's not about flipping certain counties from red to blue. It's about losing less and going after Trump's margins. And that just hasn't panned out tonight, despite all of the money and the resources and the time that not only campaign staffers, volunteers, but the vice president herself poured into this state. And so when you look at what the Trump campaign was focused on, they really wanted to expand even more in those rural areas, in the deep red areas. And there were a couple other places they were looking at, Nora, including Erie County, which went for Biden in 2020. 98% of that vote is in, and it looks like Trump is poised to flip that because right now it's 50% Trump, 49% Harris. And they said to them the biggest hint was the fact that the Teamsters did not endorse anybody because their rank and file were really supporting Trump and they weren't prepared to make a formal endorsement. But Trump sources said that they really wanted to look at the rank and file across the board when it came to workers. And that storyline is playing out. Another one that we are watching, Nora, is the 222 corridor. Of course, that is where there is a heavily populated Latino population, and everyone was wondering whether the vile joke made at the Trump rally last month would make an impact. But we now know that in Berks County, for example, which is part of that corridor, 99% of the vote, 56% right now for Trump, 43% for Harris. And then he was also able to flip, it looks like he's on the path, Northampton, which is in that corridor as well. 92% of the vote is in. It looks like 51% for Trump so far and 48% Harris. So that did not pan out the way that the Harris folks had anticipated. And then you talk about Philadelphia. When I was talking to a Trump source a bit ago, they said, look, it just wasn't going to happen the way that the Harris team planned. So they are feeling very good tonight, Nora, the Trump team.
Yeah, Weijia, as you were saying, all those counties, Major here is pointing to all of them. So if we can take them on screen, because Weijia has just expertly laid out what some of the challenges are for the Harris team tonight in these counties. I was so interested, Weijia, that you mentioned Erie, because Erie, and I know Major will know this, in 2016 was the one county where many people who accurately predicted that Donald Trump would win the presidency talked about Erie, Pennsylvania, the handmade signs, that everyone was putting handmade signs up, and that was the early predictor that Donald Trump could win not only the state of Pennsylvania, but also potentially the entire presidency.
It was a phenomenon throughout Pennsylvania, Erie and much of eastern Pennsylvania, Nora. Back in 2016, I remember talking to members of the state legislature in Pennsylvania. They would run out of signs.
Yes.
And people who supported President, or then nominee Trump, made their own.
Yeah.
And that was sort of a bonfire that went all over eastern and northeastern Pennsylvania, and Erie was a classic representation of that. That's what the turnout was in 2016. I'll go back and let everyone see what happened in 2020. Joe Biden flipped it, and here we are now, Kamala Harris running behind in Erie County.
All right, can we just go back and look real quickly? So Pennsylvania, a challenging environment for the vice president, but still a number of votes to come. Oh, she's going to need 68% of the outstanding vote? She's
going to need 68% of the outstanding vote, according to our estimates. And we place her estimate at 58% of that 68. So there's a 10 percentage point gap. That is problematic for the Harris campaign, and that, Nora, is putting it mildly. Look at our model. Here's that range, but it is getting narrower by the hour. The range for Trump is moving up, and that is positive direction for the former president.
Well, this is when we should go to Maurice DuBois at the Path to Victory and see if there's a path to victory for Kamala Harris that does not include Pennsylvania.
Okay, Nora, thank you so much. Well, this map right here will bring it home for you. This is our expected votes per state. The red ones for Donald Trump and the blue ones for Kamala Harris. Of course, two states that we are projecting to go into the Trump column, Georgia and North Carolina. And so now you see how the path for Donald Trump has widened significantly. All he has to do is take Pennsylvania, and it's game over. That brings it home right there. Let's go 270. So if Pennsylvania is not available, however, Wisconsin appears to be leaning red, as we say tonight. That brings him to 261. Then all he needs to do is to go out to Arizona and take the 11 there, and that brings him over the top. So conversely, for Kamala Harris, we say the path has narrowed somewhat. If she is able to get Pennsylvania, she's going to need it. She's going to need Michigan. She's going to need the blue wall, Wisconsin as well. If Wisconsin isn't available, as we say it leans red tonight, she would have to go to Arizona to get to 270, and that would do it right. No, that would be 260. What am I doing here? 260, 272. Which one? I gave it to red. That's what I did. Okay, thank you. That would be blue. So there we go. Math isn't my thing, but the map tells the story, doesn't it? So yeah, the paths are narrowing for Harris. They're getting wider for Donald Trump. Here we are, 1 o'clock in the morning. Nora, let's send it back over to you.
All right, Maurice DuBois, thank you so much.